Immediately after I found out about my husband's infidelity, there was one thing that I was certain of.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're talking about something that's incredibly difficult, but so important to talk about, and that is infidelity. As per usual, I've stitched together some videos that we're all going to watch together, and I'll be giving my views on the other side. So please watch until the end. And please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so that you are one of the first people that know when I upload a new video. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Immediately after I found out about my husband's infidelity, there was one thing that I was certain of, and that was that I needed space. We needed space. So I asked my husband to leave, and I did that because I knew that in the past, I have made the mistake of not giving myself time to process, time to think, time to feel by myself. And I also knew that in those situations, I would always forgive and I would force myself to move on because I chose to forgive. So now I'm making myself forgive. I'm making myself move on. And that was not healthy. So this time I knew that this was way too big for me to not take the space that I needed. It was way too big for me to think, feel, and process in the presence of my husband, in the presence of the person who has committed these acts that have hurt me. I could not allow myself to do that. I didn't know if I wanted to stay. I didn't know if I wanted to leave immediately because of course it had just happened, but I knew I needed space. And so I took it. Another thing that I have struggled with in the past is embarrassment and pride. And this time I knew that I was not going to let embarrassment or pride or any sort of shame hinder my healing. That is always what the enemy has used against me to keep me silent. And so this time, when anybody asked me, and of course I got asked, "Where's your husband? Is he okay? What's going on?" I told them what was going on. I told them we were separated. If anyone wanted to know what happened, I told them. I was not ashamed. I was not embarrassed because I didn't do anything. Let me tell you, there was so much freedom in that. Take your space if you need it. Take your time if you need it. Do not let embarrassment or shame stop you from healing.
Let me walk you through the mind of a person who has decided to stay after discovering infidelity, after discovering that their partner is having an affair. This person now has to have superhuman strength. They have to now process emotions that they want to run from, trying to process hurt and betrayal and disappointment and frustration and disgust and resentment and anger and sadness. Just if you can think about that, that is exhausting to a person. It feels like you are losing your mind. But they also have to see you, the person that they once saw as attractive, as beautiful, the person that they once believed would not hurt them. They have to see you in a more positive light when they are truly disgusted by you. They have to process the things that they cannot process, the whens, the wheres, the whys, the hows, all of those questions that they know that they would probably never get the answers to. Now they have a developed fear of you possibly doing this again. What if you go back to this person? When you're the person who has cheated, before you come in saying, "I want you to heal, you need to forgive me," you decided to stay. You knew what you were signing up for. Before you say that, realize how distorted their reality is now. Realize how much it's going to take for them to truly forgive you and to truly move forward. That's not something that's going to happen in a day or a week. And you honestly don't have the right to really put a time period on it. Because if that's the case, then you made a choice as well. When you cheat, you hide it for a reason because you know when your partner finds out about it, it's going to hurt them. It's going to destroy them. You are not going to have the same person that you had before. So before you come in making these unrealistic demands and before you start being unreasonable, realize that you have possibly destroyed that person. That person can't eat, they can't sleep, they can barely navigate life, they can't get work done. They're constantly worrying about what it is that you're doing. There's no true resolve. Their mind just keeps going. Love and history is one of the biggest blinders. And that's why most people stay in relationships to begin with. So think about that before you say you need to get over it, because that's not real.
Ooh, love your podcast! Exclamation point. My question is, how can I revive my marriage and sex life after infidelity? We have prayed, sought out marriage counseling, we have talked about it, etc., but I still am finding myself holding back sexually and not being as vulnerable and open.
The thing that jumps out to me of that question is that trust has been broken. The reason that it's hard for this person to be open again and vulnerable again is because trust has been violated. So for me, there's one thing to forgive, and I can forgive you, but that don't mean I trust you.
Yeah.
Forgiving is like, I release you from owing me anything. You don't owe me no more apologies. You don't have to buy me a car. I forgive you. You're off the hook. But that doesn't mean that I want to be vulnerable and like open again. But in the marriage context, I think it's going to be so important because you decided to stay in the marriage, and you have to believe that God's going to give you the grace to move not a partial testimony, but all of the way open to where your sex life is healthy again. Because if not, it can actually produce more problems in the future. So you want to be able to say, I've forgiven, but I've also built trust to where I trust God so much that I'm back to the place of how I used to be before the infidelity happened. And that's possible.
I wasn't always the emotionally intelligent husband that I'm trying to be today. Unfortunately, all of this positive change, all of this positive growth and maturity started from a terrible catalyst when I cheated on Emily earlier in our marriage. The truth is, I will live with that decision in some way for the rest of my life. And you might not want to take any advice from someone who's cheated. That's understandable. But I'm just excited to share what's helped us, because I know just how important a healthy, safe relationship is, not just for both of you, but for your children and their future relationships as well. I can't pay Emily back for what I did, but maybe I can prevent this from happening to someone else. And you know what? You might never cheat, but that doesn't mean you aren't drifting apart. It doesn't mean your relationship is healthy, because that demands something from both of us, doesn't it? Things like self-reflection and humility and mutual respect and being able to apologize and empathize. It demands that we look into our fears and challenge our own destructive coping mechanisms instead of just blaming them. It demands we learn how to be a safe place for their concerns and hurts instead of dismissing or invalidating them. It requires us to be accountable to our own defensiveness or criticism. That's the best form of protection. That's how you prevent complacency and self-centeredness, which destroy more relationships than anything else. You don't have to wait until your relationship crumbles to rebuild it. I got a second chance that I didn't deserve, but I would still prefer that you make the most out of your first one.
All right. So, if we're being honest, infidelity is one of the most painful experiences a marriage can go through. Whether you've been betrayed or you're the one who crossed the line, healing from infidelity is not easy. It breaks trust, it shifts the dynamic, and it forces you to face things you probably never thought you would. But here's the thing, some couples do recover, and some don't. Either way, it's worth unpacking with care. So, in today's video, we're going to have a real compassionate conversation about dealing with infidelity in a marriage. Let's talk about what it looks like to process the pain, to rebuild or release the relationship, and move forward with clarity. So, first things first, let's acknowledge the hurt. Infidelity hurts, whether it's emotional, physical, digital, or even just a series of lies. It shatters trust. And with that comes confusion, anger, heartbreak, shame, as well as grief. But listen, it doesn't matter if it was a one time thing or an ongoing situation. If it broke the trust between you and your partner, it definitely matters. So the first step is let yourself feel it. This isn't time to stuff it down or pretend it doesn't affect you. Hurt needs space, and so does healing. The second thing you have to put into consideration is understanding why it happened, not excusing it. This part is hard but necessary. Infidelity does not happen in a vacuum. That doesn't mean it's your fault. It doesn't mean you caused it. But if you are trying to move forward, whether together or apart, it's helpful to understand what led to it. Sometimes it's about unmet needs. Sometimes it's a lack of communication. Sometimes it's immaturity, ego, escapism, or opportunity. And sometimes it's just plain poor choices. The goal isn't to justify it, but to unpack it honestly. Because understanding what happened gives you both clarity on what needs to change. If there's going to be, especially if there's going to be a path forward. The other thing we should definitely talk about is, should you stay or should you go? This is the big question. And the truth is, there's no one size fits all answer. Some couples come out stronger. Some try and realize they can't move past it. And some know from the moment it happens that the relationship is over. So here's what I'll say. Whatever decision you make it from a place of truth, not trauma. Just don't stay because of fear or the kids or pressure, and don't leave just because of pride, outside opinions, or avoidance. Take time to really evaluate the following. Is there genuine remorse? Is the person willing to do the work? Do you even want to rebuild? Or can trust be restored? Not overnight, but over time. And if you don't know the answer yet, that's okay. Sit with it, talk it out, and therapy can help you sort it out as well. The fourth thing we should consider is the fact that rebuilding trust takes time and action. So if you decide to stay and rebuild, know that this process is long, it is fragile, and most importantly, it is not linear. Trust isn't rebuilt with promises, it's rebuilt with consistent behavior over time. And that might look like full transparency when you're moving forward, as well as accountability and honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. And also going to couples therapy and also owning the pain without being defensive and giving the hurt partner space to feel without rushing them to get over it. It takes a lot of humility and patience from both people. And if you're the one who was hurt, know that it's okay to still love them and be angry at the same time, to want to try again and feel broken at the same time. Your feelings don't have to be tidy, they just have to be real. Moving on to the next point, if you're the one who cheated, let's talk to that person for a second. If you're the one who cheated, whether it was once or ongoing, please own it. Don't make excuses for it. Don't shift the blame. And no, but you weren't giving me, don't be that type of person that makes those narratives. You made the choice, and if you want to rebuild the relationship, you have to show real remorse, transparency, a willingness to sit with the discomfort you caused, commitment to growth, not just for the relationship, but for yourself. And you can't control whether your partner forgives you, but what you can control is how you want to show up now. So apologies mean nothing without change. The other thing we're going to talk about is the role of forgiveness, because forgiveness is a process and it's not for the person doing the forgiving more than sorry, Forgiveness is a process, yes, and it's for the person doing the forgiving more than anyone else. I hope that is clear. It doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean condoning. It means choosing to release the weight of resentment so that you can heal. And here's the key. Forgiveness can happen whether or not you stay together. Sometimes forgiveness is the closure. Other times it's the beginning of a new chapter. So either way, it's not a straight path. You have good days and bad days, and some days you feel strong, other days you feel triggered, and that's normal. But what's important is that you have to keep showing up. Now, the other point I would like to talk about is that after infidelity, the marriage will never be the same. But that's not always bad. So here's what a lot of people don't say. After infidelity, the marriage you had is gone. It's not over, it's just gone. But that doesn't mean a new marriage can't emerge. Some couples build something deeper after betrayal, not because they're sweeping things under the rug, but because they face the pain together. They change for the better and they rebuild on new terms. It's not easy, but it's possible. So just know that whatever path you take, it's okay to grieve the old version of your relationship, even if you're not moving forward together. The other point I would like to talk about is the fact that you deserve support. Whether you're the one who was betrayed or the one who broke the trust, don't do this journey alone. Therapy can help. Individual, couples, or both, whatever it takes. Trusted friends, mentors, spiritual guidance. Lean into the people who can hold space for you without judgment. Because infidelity isolates people with shame, but healing happens in safe and honest community. The other thing I would like to talk about is that healing is possible with or without the marriage. So if you take nothing else from today's conversation, hear this. You are not broken beyond repair. Your marriage may or may not survive, but you will. You as an individual will survive all this turmoil. This doesn't define your worth, it doesn't erase your ability to love or be loved. You can heal, you can grow, you can find peace either within a new version of your marriage or within yourself or on your own. You are allowed to move forward. Now, infidelity is a wound, and every wound takes time to heal. But with honesty, support, and a willingness to confront the hard truths, it's possible to come out on the other side stronger, wiser, and more whole. Whether you're rebuilding your relationship or rebuilding yourself, I'm so proud of you for facing it. You are not alone. All right, that's it for today's episode. This is a very tender topic, and I appreciate you for holding space for it with me. So, if you've ever experienced infidelity, whether you stayed, left, forgave, or you're still figuring it out, drop your story or thoughts in the comments if you feel comfortable. Let's keep this space honest and supportive. And if this video resonated with you, go ahead and give it a like, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more real, deep relationship conversations. Take care of your heart, and most importantly, take care of yourself. And I will see you in the next one. From me, it's goodbye.